What's going on, guys? We're doing some pitch deck financial visuals today. Normally, I do financial models that are like a 5-year financial model in depth where you do all your assumptions, everything else. This is more of a high level. You enter your high level financials and all the charts update for you to put into your pitch deck. Now, the key with a pitch deck is essentially you want to be clean, no spelling errors, all the formatting is consistent, the coloring is consistent, the font is consistent, it's very clear, it's very easy to read what's on the screen. And so that is what you're getting with this uh, pitch deck template. It comes in a Google Sheet. It also comes in an Excel version, which I'll go over after this. I'll show you all the visuals there. It's a little bit different, but I put in all the work to format it so that it looks really close to the Google Sheet version. And so this is a real simple one. I decided, or I picked what I thought was the most relevant financials that any startup or any business that's putting together a presentation and they need to include 5-year financials would need. And if you don't have 5 years, you can delete columns and the charts will update just fine. So what I thought was the most important is number one, you enter your annual revenue. So how big are you going to get? What's the scope? That's very important for investors. And what's that growth rate look like, as well as what's the compounding average growth rate of that from year 1 to 5. Next is your margin. So what's your cost of goods sold? What's your gross profit? This is relevant for most businesses, but you might not. You might just have um, you might not have cost of goods sold. You might just have OpEx. But if you do, you can enter your cost of goods sold, and this kind of shows what kind of money does the business make before we start accounting for overheads like, office expenses and utilities and legal fees and all the other stuff that's not directly related to producing um, the product or service that you're selling. So top line revenue, gross profit, your margin, and then we have profitability if we get into our net income. Next is a break-even analysis. Now, this is not connected to the numbers up here because it's different. You could have some cost of goods sold that are variable. You could also have some that are fixed. Um, Variable expenses just mean it directly relates to revenue. So this is something like a cost that's related to customer count or providing services to your customers, or if you're producing a product, this is going to be your material costs. Whatever percentage of revenue, or this is anything that scales almost 1-to-1 with revenue. So you can assume if if my product sells for $10 and my materials to make that product are $2, then for every dollar I sell, 20% of that is going to go to that variable material cost, or 20 cents. So, and if you have $1 million in sales, it's going to be 20% of that. If you have 100,000 in sales, it's going to be 20% of that. So your variable cost, you can enter here at a percentage. You might have to estimate, and some things might not be a perfect fit, but in general, you want to get the total percentage of costs that directly scale with revenue. Now, then you put in your fixed expenses. So this is payrolls, things that don't scale with more revenue. And based on those two things, you'll get your annual break even. And so now we're going to have a cool chart that shows your projected revenue, and we can compare that against the break even revenue of the business to see what your projections are versus what you need to do to break even. And then I just added a customer count. You might not have, this might not be relevant for you, but it might be. And if it's not, you can just zero it out. But I figured if you're using this to show anything about customers, that's probably a broad enough data point to put in here to fit 95% of use cases. Then we have fund usage. This is just if you're collecting money and you want to say, okay, I'm going to use X dollars for this, that, and the other, you can put up to 8 items there, and it will populate percentage, and it will show in the visuals in a pie chart. which we'll get to. So real simple. You got your financial projections built out. Maybe you used a model from smarthelping.com, or you got your own, or what have you. You drop them right into here into the shaded cells. And as you update your data, these visuals will update. So we've got annual revenue projections, annual gross profit, annual growth rate, annual gross profit margin. This is an important one here. Your annual break-even revenue requirement, year-end customer count, straightforward, annual customer growth, fund usage by category. Now, and then annual net income projections. And then we got a couple more advanced ones that are, and also you don't want to be too confusing and too busy. So I try not to get too fancy with the advanced charts, but we just have a margin analysis, which is just showing you here's your top line revenue, gross profit, net income. And the spacing between them is essentially your margins. And the closer the net income is to the top, the better the margin is. And then I just did a revenue versus break-even revenue chart here too. So you can see top line revenue, and then here's what you need revenue to at least break even. So that's the Google Sheet version. I'm going to show you a couple nuances. I like Excel has a couple cool things that make it a little bit different and better. For example, uh, let's say you have, and you could use these. This doesn't have to be a forecast. This could be an actuals. You could use this for 5-year historicals and to present information, or you could use it for maybe 2022 and 2023 are historicals for you, and then these are or these are actuals and these are forecast. And you could go in here if you want and designate, like I could double click on this and actually I can make this a different color. And you can say, okay, the first 2 years, make all the bars blue because that's actuals and then others forecast. So you can customize it if you want like that and use it for if it's not only a for if you're doing something that's not just forecasted numbers and it includes some actuals. Okay, let's go. So let's look at this quick nuance between this and Excel. It's the only main thing that I wanted to compare the two. So let's say operating expenses were 2 million in 2024 for whatever reason. So you got negative profit. So on this chart, you can see the bar just goes negative. Um, Here you can barely see, it's hard to see because this light gray is the same color as the background. Probably should change that. Series, net income. Can we make that maybe a light? There we go, that's fine. Just a light color, so now you can see it under there. So with Google Sheets, this does change colors if it's below the line from what it is up top, or it looks different. But if we go to Excel, let me switch views here. So source 2. Here's the Excel version I did. You can see it's pretty similar bars. I tried to update all the formatting so it all looks very uniform. It works the same way. You put in your data on the data tab, and then the visuals will update. Now, two different charts. So you can see here, number one, look at what happens with the net income if it's negative, or if if the gross profit's negative, it do the same thing. You got a different color bar, and that's automatically done. That's actually really nice functionality. So anything that's negative is going to show as a white. Anything that's positive is black for net income. So that's one cool thing I like about the Excel version. Also with the margin analysis, I was able to split out with a 3D stacked thing. So revenue, gross profit, and income is kind of like side by side in these 3D slats. I thought that was a really nice, clean visual that I couldn't do in Google Sheets. So you've got that one. And then margin analysis, same thing. I use the 3D slats there. Other than that, that's about all I got. put this back to, so you can see updated the numbers now, all that updates. But so when you get this purchase a template, I'll send you you'll get the Excel file, which is this, and then this Excel file will also have the Google Sheet file in it, which you can go to, and then once you go to, it'll be view only. You just hit file, make a copy, and it'll have your own editable version. And don't try to put the link in at the top here or at the top of the Google Sheet, because this is a locked version. I'll have the other version will be a different link that is actually available. But it's the same thing, just different link at the top. All right, that's about all I got. Support smarthelping.com. Check out financial models there. This is a nice pitch deck visual. I've tried a little bit something new here and focusing on formatting value rather than complex logic. Normally everything I do is about complex revenue and expense logic, but this is more of a visual template to help you so you don't have to think about your pitch deck as much. You just plug in your data and here's your visuals ready to go. Link is in the description box below of the YouTube video. If you're on YouTube, if you're on a different vendor site, just obviously you're on the buy page already. And I'll see you guys on the next one.